Come here, Becky. Let me see something. Do like this. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Remember when network executives thought recycling TV legends was a guaranteed ratings goldmine? Yeah, 1986 was peak delusion season. Welcome back to our expedition through television's boneyard. Last time we covered the first batch of 86 disasters, so check the description for those, but don't worry, we've got plenty more carnage to examine. Hit that subscribe button because unlike these shows, we here at Remember When are actually worth your time. Alright, let's start with television's most heartbreaking train wreck, number 10, Life with Lucy, ABC. Lucille Ball was television royalty, a trailblazer of the modern sitcom. So when ABC pitched a comeback vehicle in 1986, it sounded like printing money. Spoiler alert, everything went wrong. Life with Lucy featured Ball as Lucille Lucy Barker, a recently widowed grandmother who inherits half of her husband's hardware store. She's forced to run it with her uptight in-law Curtis McGibbon, played by Gale Gordon, because apparently the only person willing to work with 75-year-old Lucy was 80-year-old Gale. Both families lived together under one chaotic roof, which sounds like classic Lucy chaos waiting to happen.
Hi, Grandma! There she is!
The main cast was actually pretty solid on paper. Lucille Ball as Lucy Barker, Gale Gordon as Curtis McGibbon, Ann Dusenberry as Margot, Larry Anderson as Ted, Jenny Lewis as Becky, yes, that's future indie rock goddess Jenny Lewis learning the business, Philip J. Amelio II as Kevin, and Donovan Scott as Leonard. Guest stars included John Ritter, Peter Graves, and Audrey Meadows, all probably wondering what the hell they'd signed up for.
How could you do that to a big TV star?
You never heard of him till 2 minutes ago.
That's right. Remember? Shame, shame, shame.
I have some aspirin in my purse.
Behind the scenes, the hype was astronomical. ABC desperately wanted their own Cosby Show or Golden Girls lightning in a bottle moment, and Ball's return was promoted like the resurrection of comedy itself. Ball insisted on working with her longtime collaborators Bob Carroll Jr. and Madeline Pugh, the same writers who created I Love Lucy 30 years earlier, which would have been fine if audience hadn't, evolved since Eisenhower was president. Gale Gordon was literally coaxed out of retirement with a guaranteed paycheck for all 22 ordered episodes, which turned out to be about 14 more checks than were necessary. Ball herself earned $100,000 per episode, which was decent money for attempting to recreate 1950s physical comedy for an audience raised on Cheers and The Cosby Show. Her husband, Gary Morton, made $150,000 per episode as executive producer, proving that nepotism pays better than talent.
Oh, well, now, please, don't worry. There are millions of people in the world who never win anything. Leonard and I just never won a trophy, that's all.
Mrs. B, I have a trophy.
But critics felt the physical comedy looked painful to watch. Look, watching Lucille Ball struggle through physical comedy at 75 years old was painful, but you had to respect the woman's relentless work ethic. She was still throwing herself into pratfalls when most people her age were struggling with TV remotes. 13 episodes were filmed before reality crashed hard. Only 8 aired before ABC pulled the plug. The show landed 73rd out of 79 shows that season. A humiliating defeat for someone who'd once owned Monday nights like real estate. Critics called it dated and poorly received, which is TV critic speak for this hurts to watch. ABC canceled it mid-production, leaving Ball devastated. She never attempted another series and passed away in 1989, making this her career's tragic final chapter. Number 9, Kay O'Brien, CBS. CBS looked at St. Elsewhere's critical acclaim and thought, we need some of that prestige drama magic. Enter Kay O'Brien, starring Patricia Kalember as Dr. K.O. O'Brien, a surgical resident juggling impossible hours, demanding bosses, and a personal life messier than a MASH unit during artillery fire. The cast looked promising enough, with Brian Benben as Dr. Mark Doyle, yes, the same Brian Benben who'd later charm audiences in Dream On, Jan Rubes as Dr. Joseph Wallach, Lane Smith as Dr. Robert Moffat, Priscilla Lopez as Nurse Rosa Villanueva, and Keon Young as Dr. Michael Kwan. CBS promoted it as bold and groundbreaking television, but what audiences got was 2 parts General Hospital to 1 part actual medical drama. The pacing moved slower than hospital bureaucracy, the medical cases were about as thrilling as waiting room magazines, and Kay O'Brien herself had all the compelling energy of expired anesthesia. Patricia Kalember deserved a medical drama that matched her talent. She brought real gravitas to the role, even when the scripts gave her nothing to work with. Ratings tanked. Apparently audiences preferred their medical dramas with, drama. Of 12 produced episodes, CBS aired only 8 before declaring The Patient DOA. Lifetime later ran the full batch during their Shows Nobody Watched the First Time programming block, which is basically television purgatory. Not even a title that practically begged for stat jokes could resuscitate this flatline disaster. Number 8, Leo and Liz in Beverly Hills, CBS. CBS rolled out Leo and Liz in Beverly Hills, a sitcom about Harvey Korman and Valerie Perrine as a working-class New Jersey couple who suddenly strike it rich and move to Beverly Hills, where they fit in about as well as a food truck at a country club gala. The supporting cast included Sue Ball as their daughter Mitzi, Kenneth Kimmins as Jerry Fedderson, and Julie Payne as Lucille Trumbley, names that probably sounded important to someone, somewhere. Originally introduced during George Burns Comedy Week, remember when networks gave variety shows to 90-year-old comedians because apparently age equals automatic hilarity? The show earned a 6-episode mid-season replacement run. The scripts leaned harder on the new money versus old money culture clash gags than a sociology textbook.
Leo, what if we never make any friends? What if nobody ever comes to the door? What if we just wander around this big old lonely house all by ourselves till we grow old and die and there's nothing left but a little pile of dusty old bones and they never even find those because I never even knew we were here in the first place?
Despite its awkward humor, the concept failed to resonate with anyone who had functioning television sets. The characters never clicked, viewers never cared, and 6 episodes in, CBS pulled the plug faster than you could say wax on, wax off. Number 7, Outlaws, CBS. Sometimes a TV premise is so wonderfully insane that you can't believe nobody greenlit it sooner. Outlaws had exactly that kind of what-if energy that makes you question all of reality. Picture this fever dream. In 1899 Houston, a sheriff and his gang of desperados get struck by lightning during a shootout on a Native American burial ground, because of course they do, and wake up in 1986. Stranded in the future, they form the Double Eagle Detection Agency, solving modern crimes with 19th century frontier justice. It's like someone pitched, what if cowboys had to deal with cocaine dealers in the most literal way possible?
We need your help, mister. You understand that?
Not your back talk, your help.
Get out of my shop.
What's going on here? What is this?
I don't like cops.
We ain't the law, mister. We're not the law per se, but we are private lawmen.
The cast included Rod Taylor as Sheriff Jonathan Grail, William Lucking, Patrick Hauser, Charles Napier, and Richard Roundtree. Christina Belford played Lieutenant Maggie Randall, a Houston detective tasked with helping them navigate the confusing world of 1986, a world with cars, computers, and criminals who don't settle disputes at high noon. Episodes mixed shootouts, crime procedural elements, and weird comedy like some demented TV smoothie. The pilot actually scored decent ratings, and audiences were genuinely curious about cowboys handling domestic disputes with 6-shooters, because honestly, who wouldn't want to watch that?
Wait a second, Miss Bennett. We ain't here to harm you.
What are you looking at, Blue Eyes?
Pardon me, ma'am. Your naked self.
Howdy, cowboy. She's going with us.
But CBS made the classic network blunder of moving it to Saturday nights, also known as the television graveyard, where shows go to die slow, painful deaths. The audience evaporated faster than tumbleweeds in a dust storm. CBS canceled it after 1 season. 12 episodes were produced, including a 2-hour pilot plus 11 one-hour episodes. In hindsight, Outlaws was basically Quantum Leap meets the A-Team, which sounds absolutely bonkers enough to work. Maybe it was just 20 years too early. It was part Western, part sci-fi, part cop show, but apparently audiences weren't ready for genre-blending madness that wouldn't become trendy for another decade. Number 6, Me and Mrs. C, NBC. NBC gave Me and Mrs. C 2 separate chances to find an audience, which is 2 more opportunities than most shows get and approximately 1 more than this particular disaster deserved. The sitcom starred Misha McK as Jerry Kilgore, a young black ex-convict trying to turn her life around who becomes a boarder with elderly white widow Ethel Mrs. C. Conklin, played by Peg Murray. It is like an Odd Couple meets after school special with a heavy dose of very special episode energy that nobody asked for.
You and I were somehow brought together. Could it be that fate lent us a hand?
The supporting cast included Gary Bayer as Ethan Conklin and Ellen Reagan as Kathleen Conklin, with Wayne Powers appearing as the recurring Mr. Barton, Mr. Wilson. Apparently, the casting department couldn't decide on his character's name either, which should have been a red flag the size of Manhattan. The premise actually had potential. An unlikely friendship across racial and generational lines wasn't a bad foundation. It just needed writers who understood how to make that relationship feel authentic instead of preachy. 19 episodes were broadcast between summer of 1986 and its 1987 revival attempt, which is like giving CPR to a show that was never really alive to begin with. The Odd Couple formula never really clicked, and the comedy felt more forced than a hostage situation, and viewers never bought the central relationship. NBC finally gave up and put the show out of its misery permanently. Sometimes, second chances are just delayed executions with better marketing. Now, before we continue this parade of career-ending disasters, make sure you smash that like button if you're enjoying this trip down memory lane's darkest alley, and hit subscribe because someone needs to remember these magnificent failures. Now, let's get back to the carnage with number 5, Bridges to Cross, CBS. Bridges to Cross paired Suzanne Pleshette with Nicholas Serovi as rival newspaper columnists and ex-spouses forced to work together in Washington, D.C. Now, if that sounds like someone photocopied Moonlighting's homework and changed a few words, congratulations on paying attention during TV history class. The cast included legitimate talent: Roddy McDowall, Jose Ferrer, Ava Gabor, and Nancy Cartwright. You know, the future voice of Bart Simpson, Nancy Cartwright, back when she was still auditioning for live-action roles instead of making millions saying, "Eat my shorts."
Eat my shorts.
All right, I'll eat your shorts.
Yeah, eat my shorts.
CBS promoted it as smart, sophisticated prestige television for the thinking viewer. What they delivered was 2 middle-aged people bickering about newspaper deadlines while audiences nationwide reached for their remotes like life preservers. The writing leaned so heavily on will they, won't they tension that it forgot to give viewers any compelling reason to care either way.
The brief marriage of Tracy Bridges, moi, to Peter Cross, was to romance what the Hindenburg was to the history of flight.
The history between Tracy and me is why we have to be very careful in our working relationship together.
After 6 episodes, CBS pulled the plug with the efficiency of a newspaper deadline. Just another sophisticated misfire in 1986's increasingly crowded graveyard of failed prestige dramas. Number 4, Starman, ABC. Based on John Carpenter's 1984 film, Starman picked up the story 15 years later with the ambition of a network that clearly hadn't learned its lesson about adapting beloved movies. Robert Hayes, yes, Airplane's hilariously deadpan Ted Stryker.
So we had to take a special Jeep up to the main road. In fact, we were lucky to even get a Jeep since just the day before, only one that we had broke down.
Played the alien in a cloned human body, traveling cross-country with his teenage son Scott, played by Christopher Daniel Barnes, searching for Scott's mother Jenny, played by Erin Gray. The series ran 22 episodes, blending heartfelt father-son bonding moments, fugitive tension with government agent George Fox constantly hunting them like some cosmic game of hide-and-seek, and sci-fi mystery elements. Think The Incredible Hulk meets E.T., but with a road trip budget that screamed, "We've spent all our money on the pilot."
You know, it's such a nice day. How about it, Scott? Why don't we walk?
Critical reception ranged from praise as warm and funny to dismissals as a drag, but honestly, that sounds about right. The show had genuine heart, but it lacked the movie's otherworldly magic. Say what you want about the budget constraints, but Robert Hayes brought genuine heart to the role. Was he Jeff Bridges? No, but he understood that beneath all the sci-fi nonsense was a story about a father trying to connect with his son. Hayes was earnest and committed, but he couldn't match Jeff Bridges' effortlessly otherworldly charisma from the film. You know, before he became the dude. It's like trying to recreate lightning in a bottle using a flashlight and some wishful thinking. Ratings fell shorter than a crash-landed spaceship against Friday night competition like Falcon Crest and LA Law. Shows with bigger budgets, better time slots, and zero need to explain alien mythology every week to confused viewers. ABC canceled it after one season, sending it back to whatever galaxy failed TV shows inhabit. Starman had genuine potential, but potential doesn't pay for special effects or decent writing. Number 3, Our House, NBC. Our House starred Wilford Brimley as Gus Witherspoon, a gruff widower raising his late son's children alongside his daughter-in-law Jessica, played by Deidre Hall. The kids were played by Shannen Doherty before she became the queen of teen drama on Beverly Hills, Chad Allen, and Carrie Houlihan. Basically, your standard issue TV family dealing with multi-generational trauma in the most wholesome way possible.
Some guys just play for fun.
Sure they do. It is fun. Especially when you got a hand you can take your neighbor's house payment with.
You're kidding.
Why don't you play with me sometime?
The show's format was uniquely sentimental in that special 80s way. It was wholesome family entertainment designed for an era when family values were becoming a political talking point and everyone was desperately searching for the next Cosby Show magic. Despite generally positive reviews, critics genuinely appreciated its gentle approach to family dysfunction and grief. Our House was ratings challenged from day one. NBC made the brilliant strategic decision to schedule it on Sunday nights against 60 Minutes, which was like scheduling a church picnic during the Super Bowl and expecting people to choose the potato salad.
Okay. Pass over now. Get them while they're hot, kids. Dig in.
Thanks, sweetie.
And honestly, Wilford Brimley deserved better. The man had carved out this wonderful niche as America's gruff but lovable grandfather figure, and Our House should have been his victory lap. The show ran for 46 episodes over 2 seasons before NBC finally moved it to the canceled column with all the ceremony of filing paperwork. It was well-intentioned, well-acted, and well-meaning, which are basically all the qualities that typically spell doom in the ruthless world of network television. Fun trivia that'll blow your mind though, Shannen Doherty went directly from this wholesome family drama to starring in Heathers in 1988, marking one of entertainment history's most dramatic tonal pivots. Going from playing the sweet youngest daughter to delivering What's Your Damage is quite the career 180. It's like watching Mr. Rogers suddenly start hosting death metal concerts. Number 2, What a Country, syndicated. What a Country starred Yakov Smirnoff, you know, the in Soviet Russia guy, as the headliner of a sitcom about immigrants in a citizenship class. Because apparently someone looked at the naturalization process and thought, you know what this needs? More laugh tracks and ethnic stereotypes. Garrett M. Brown played their perpetually long-suffering teacher, heroically dealing with a classroom packed fuller of stereotypes than a 1940s Warner Brothers cartoon. You had Yakov's Russian cabbie, a Pakistani character played by tennis pro Vijay Amritraj, a retired Hungarian doctor, a deposed African prince, and more ethnic caricatures than you could shake a green card at. The supporting cast included Otto Maris, Harry Waters Jr., Julian Reyes, Leela He Olsen, and George Murdoch, all probably wondering how this ended up on their resumes. Gale Strickland played Principal Joan Courtney until Don Knotts replaced her because if your show is struggling, obviously the solution is to add Barney Fife to the mix. That's network logic for you. Based on the British sitcom Mind Your Language, What a Country leaned so heavily on ethnic stereotypes that it made Hogan's Heroes look like a progressive masterpiece of cultural sensitivity. Every single joke was either about funny accents, cultural misunderstandings, or someone hilariously mispronouncing English words. Comedy gold, right? And you know what? For all its problems, there was something genuinely sweet about the idea of people from all over the world coming together to become Americans. The execution was rough, but the heart was there.
Nobody's under this sofa. Unless he's very small. Ali.
26 episodes were produced for first-run syndication, which means it aired whenever local stations needed cheap programming to fill dead time slots between actual shows people wanted to watch. The show vanished faster than the Berlin Wall after the Cold War ended, and in Soviet Russia, TV show cancel you. In America, this show just canceled itself through sheer force of terrible. Number 1, Downtown, CBS. Downtown starred Michael Nouri as LAPD Detective John Forney, supervising 4 parolees who help him solve crimes: a kleptomaniac dowager, a con artist, a streetwise karate fighter, and a pickpocket. Think the A-Team meets community service, but with none of the charm of either concept. The cast featured some genuinely impressive names: Robert Englund, you know, Freddy Krueger himself, probably wondering how he went from nightmare fuel to network television; Millicent Martin, Blair Underwood, Mariska Hargitay, yes, future Law & Order SVU detective Olivia Benson, Virginia Capers, and David Paymer. Honestly, it sounded like a gritty twist on the cop show formula that might actually work. The cast was genuinely stacked with future stars. Watching Mariska Hargitay stumble through this mess makes you appreciate just how far she'd come by the time SVU rolled around, but the production values were bargain basement, the writing felt like paint-by-numbers crime drama, and the chemistry between the leads was about as electric as a broken toaster. It felt like someone watched Miami Vice through a kaleidoscope and thought, what if we did this exact thing, but worse and in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, major metropolis of the West Coast, one of the world's most beautiful and unusual cities. Its sunny climate, wide beaches, and special attractions such as the Griffith Park Observatory and the La Brea Tar Pits give the city a special charm.
CBS aired 13 episodes during late summer of 1986, television's equivalent of the Island of Misfit Toys, where shows go to die quietly while everyone's on vacation before putting everyone out of their misery. The show is remembered today mainly as an odd footnote in the overcrowded 1980s cop show boom, almost like finding a particularly weird seashell on a beach covered in better specimen. Turns out even Freddy Krueger couldn't save this particular nightmare from cancellation. And there you have it. 10 more shows that prove 1986 was television's equivalent of a tire fire that somehow kept burning for an entire year. Which forgotten flop do you actually remember watching? Drop your picks in the comment section below. We promise not to judge your questionable viewing choices. Hit like and subscribe for more nostalgic disasters, and until next time, this is Remember When.